And then this song just speeds it up and makes it more over the top, I guess. And then the boss theme's a remix of the same music.
I like how you go back to read the sign that says no entry allowed.
Yeah, I just wanted to show it off, don't you know? Really,
Yeah.
no entry allowed.
It's just ironic. She brought the gin and tonic, and I bought the chronic, and so on and so forth. 420 blaze it, by the way.
Something about the plant.
Yo, man, that sticky icky.
Okay, let's be careful not to get into Duplo territory.
What are you talking about? Duplo? What do you mean Duplo? Like the giant Legos?
Yeah. It's a joke because I'm referencing Dumplo, but I'm calling it Duplo because they sound...
Oh, you're trying to get that past me. You have to censor me that out. I probably won't. Whatever, who cares?
Alright, so here we learn the secret of Tubba Blubba's invincibility. Using the Star Rod, Bowser was able to separate his heart from his body, and that somehow makes him invincible? I guess.
Question mark.
Doesn't really make sense, but his heart is vulnerable, and he's actually pretty tough.
Yeah, his heart is harder than... I do like the song, though.
Yeah,
is it playing anywhere else?
It's just Tubba Blubba's boss theme.
Well, I like it. I like it! It's got that sort of... like a synth. While still being sort of jazzy. I don't know
so
how lined that'll be,
his shtick is that every once in a while he'll charge up a super attack, and then you've got so many minutes to activate Bow's out of sight move. Now that basically makes you invulnerable to the attack. And
I like how you said, I don't think you even know this, but you said you only have so many minutes.
Yeah, but alternatively,
you only get so many minutes.
You'll find a repel gel on the route up to Tubba Blubba's castle.
So in case you need to tattle on him since you didn't get the peekaboo badge because you're a buffoon.
Yeah. So
he does that. He is quite chunky. You want to explain that now or later?
What do you mean chunky?
50 HP.
Yeah, the bosses start getting harder from here on out, I'd say. And so I'd recommend using Bow because, again, he doesn't have defense and she does 5 attacks per turn, and she also is how you're going to be avoiding.
How much damage does that like?
I think it does like 12 HP worth of damage.
Yeah, it's a mess.
It's pretty big attack for the stage in the game, so you don't want to get hit by it, and it's pretty difficult to get hit if you use out of sight.
Doesn't he have other attacks though?
Yeah, every once in a while he'll jump off that little pedestal and like bonk you, but that doesn't do nearly as much damage, you know.
Okay, Michael. Michael's been reading some like really old Batman comics. He'll jump off his pedestal and bonk you. He'll give you a whap.
He'll give
you
you
better watch out or grab a towel and give you a little thwip on the bum.
And watch out, Eric, I'm gonna thump you.
Golly, Batman!
Eric, you better stop talking or I'm gonna give you 50 lashes.
Michael, that's really fucked up and racist. I can't believe you said something like that. Michael, have you had enough of my horse shit yet, or?
I don't think I quite have, actually. So, yeah, Eric, have you been keeping up with the newest KFC commercials?
No, I haven't.
So, like, first they replaced Daryl Hammond with Norm Macdonald. And then, like, there's, like, one commercial is just like, it's not like you can get another Colonel, right? And then, like,
yeah, you know, it's funny. I was sad that they switched Colonels since I really like the other guy, Norm.
Yeah.
But I've since actually heard really good things about Norm Macdonald, like, as a stand-up comedian.
Mm-hmm.
The only problem is, I guess... I've heard, and this is from that same podcast I was talking about earlier. The only bad thing that they had seen him in was he shows up in Real Rob, that like sort of pseudo reality TV show. It's like sort of, you know what Louis is, based off of Louis C.K.
No.
Okay.
Oh, that show.
Yeah, it's basically that, but with Rob Schneider. Rob Schneider's like, I can do that. Yeah, I'm serious. I'm serious.
No.
And I guess it's at the very back of Netflix. And
speaking of Louis, well, first of all, what I wanted to say is that they got rid of Norm Macdonald as the Colonel. Now all they have is just a disembodied voice that says he's the Colonel.
they got, oh my gosh.
Yeah, and so like there's like this commercial where
the concept of like the really like fucked up weird Colonel kind of reminds me of the King a little bit. You know, the Burger King.
Oh yeah.
Like the creepy one.
Yeah, like Sneak King, that game we play on the channel.
At least the Burger King wasn't based off of a real person that people actually liked.
Yeah. But anyways, you brought up Louis, Eric, and recently the Jungle Book was re-released.
Yeah, I know.
A new
I
Jungle
heard
Book.
I saw a little bit of the CG for like Shere Khan and like the wolves and stuff. And it looked good, like Life of Pi level type stuff.
Yep.
I heard it was actually received fairly well, considering.
Yeah, like it's Rotten Tomatoes is not a good indicator, like score-wise. Like 94% people gave it a thumbs up and said go see it.
But the consumer is on average really stupid.
Yeah. These were reviewers.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So reviewers, 94% of them said like it's good enough to be worth seeing at least. But like some people take that 94% and say like, wow, 94 out of 100, this is one of the best movies ever.
That's still pretty good considering the concept, I think.
Yeah,
I would argue.
I saw it, and I saw it with the grandparents, and it was pretty good. But I bring it up because, well, I suppose we should make note of
Rudyard Kipling.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get into, actually.
I actually read it the poem, The White Man's Burden, recently for my history class. I think the most, I mean, at least he wasn't like
so it turns out that Tubba Blubba used to be like a kind of a weakling. Like some people would push him around all the time, so that's why he had Bowser use the Star Rod on him to make him invincible, because he wanted, and that's also why he was eating the booze as well, because we'll be learning from Bao in a moment. We'll be learning from Bao in a moment that they used to like harass him all the time, and so this whole eating ghost thing was kind of like his like righteous revenge, essentially, which I thought was kind of a funny twist at the end, because it's just like, oh yeah, this guy is oppressing us and doing all this terrible shit to us, and then it turns out like, oh yeah, we kind of deserved it. But yeah, well, fuck him.
Scaring folks is what ghosts do.
So boo on him.
That's really fucked up if you think about it. This is racial commentary right here.
Yeah. But back to Rudyard Kipling.
Speaking of racial commentary, Rudyard Kipling. What were you going to say about him?
Well, it's just like, I seem to remember like when you took Purnell or something, you talked about White Man's Burden and Jungle Book and I Want to Be Like You. So like when I saw this movie, the new theatrical 2016 one, I was just like, I remember Eric telling me about this stuff once. I wonder what it is. So I found like this article which sort of like it talks about White Man's Burden, you know, like Rudyard Kipling was born in English.
Okay, you're gonna explain it. Go for it.
So like he was born in India when it was under British control, and so that's sort of like a theme of the original Jungle Book, is that Mowgli sort of struggles between his identity as a jungle dweller and as a human in the man village. He's like that duality, and so that's sort of reflective on which is analogous to being born in India but being a British subject, you know. It's but later on he ended up moving to the United States, and he wrote this poem called The White Man's Burden, which is essentially a justification of imperialism. And it was written at the time that the U.S. was about to take control of the Philippines from the Spanish. And
it was during the area of sort of new indirect imperialism, but still like sort of.
And it's a pretty offensive poem. I've read it.
Have you read it? It's an afro. Every like sort of stanza starts with take ye up the white man's burden or whatever, and it's to like, you know, white men and Anglo-Saxon people, where it's basically saying he, I believe, describes people as half devil, half child. Yeah,
because they're non-Christian heathens, and they're stupid because they're not us, right?
Well, the funny thing is there Rudyard Kipling was actually like a really smart guy for the most part, and he was clearly a brilliant writer. The thing was, he just did sincerely believe in the fact that like the Anglo-Saxons were superior. He at least, like, there were so many Darwinian eugenicists who just said get rid of all the quote-unquote savages. So at least he was like, all right, the white man's burden is to help these guys out and make them like us. At least he didn't say, all right, kill all of them. Like,
yeah, but I feel like that's equally as harmful. Like, in the end of the day, there's still an assumption that this culture is not worth as much as ours.
It's bad, but it's not as bad as saying these are savages beyond repair. That's genocide all over the place.
Because it's like a lot of this imperialism, particularly in Africa, is why there's so much social unrest there today. Is they basically just drew borders around all the resources that they wanted without any regards to who lived there or how well they got along. And so now you got these different ethnic groups, and particularly in Africa, sort of waging some pretty tough and violent political trauma.
Paper Mario, by the way.
Yeah. But so, like, in regards to Jungle Book, there's the monkeys in the original book did not have a King Louis. Like, sort of the thing about them was that they were leaderless and lawless, and they just sort of did whatever they want, and nobody respected them. And there's a speculation that they were supposed to be, that they were an allegory for, you know, people, colonial subjects.
Savages, very even human.
And that essentially,
that's Pocahontas' song. I'm not.
Yeah. Well, what that's sort of is kind of colonialism, imperialism. It's relevant. But, you know, and then the 1967 animated film comes out, and Disney, like, the original script was closer to the book and was a lot darker, more like the 2016 movie. But Walt Disney didn't like it, so he fired the guy who wrote the script and basically rewrote it from scratch and made it more chintzy, more flowery, colorful, you know? And so that's where the character of King Louis came about, and it seems
I wanna be a man cub and stroll right into town.
There's speculation that King Louis is based off of jazz singers, particularly, like, Louis Armstrong was supposed to voice King Louis eventually, and originally, but they realized that, you know what, if we do this, then people might get mad about it, especially since this was during the civil rights movement.
Yeah, that's when people were starting to come around finally.
So what they ended up doing is they got a jazz singing Italian-American man named Louis Prima to voice him instead. So, like, they...
God damn if that song isn't fucking catchy and good, though.
Yeah, but it's kind of problematic when you think... Because, like, he even says, I'm the king of the swingers, the jungle VIP, you know? And swing and jazz and all that was historically black music. Black urban music. And they wanted Louis Armstrong to voice this guy who was described as the king of swing. So, like, there's a pretty good case to...
They were a bunch of monkeys wanting to be men. Still really fucked up.
Yeah, it is. And then...
As a lot of Disney movies are.
So it's like...
And it's funny, the thing with Disney movies, too, and a lot of them are either based off of... They're, like, based off of old stuff. And a lot of them are like, especially princess stories and stuff, are based off of Brothers Grimm's tales, which are constantly, like... You know, really fucked up stories. Yeah, like in Cinderella, the stepsisters get their eyes picked out by crows and stuff. Versus, you know, like...
Yeah. Versus Cinderella 3, A Twist in Time, where they find the fairy godmother's wand and go back in time and try to prevent the events of the first film from ever happening.
Can we just discuss the fact that we had 2 sessions, right?
Yeah.
The first one was complete and utter horseshit and nonsense and screaming. I can't even like, I'm looking at the picture of the WAV file. It's a fucking monstrosity. And then the second session, we talked about, like, some historical and sociological, like, interesting stuff. Both ignoring Paper Mario almost entirely. This is a weird series. I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed listening to us talk about Rudyard Kipling, imperialism, and the social construction of race in the United States. So join us next time when we go into the 1970s Argentine dictatorship and the women's movement, which opposed it and eventually led to its undoing. Until then, I am
I could talk about Hitler.
fucking Anderson Cooper, and I'll see you fucking
I could
later.
tell you like 16 things about Hitler.
Yeah, and Eric's gonna read an autobiography about Hitler real quick.
I finally read a little bit of Mein Kampf for the first time. The section where he sort of justifies his hatred of the Jews.
They're the destroyers of culture, Eric. Can't let those Jews around.